Hi, I'm Justin,
I'm Kenny.
and this is Worlds Collide. This week we'll be covering Scott Pilgrim. More familiar for some of you viewers is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Otherwise, that's the name of the movie. And down below here we have some of the graphic novels. Bryan by Kenny. He has the whole set.
So right here in front of us we have 1, 4, and 6, and then down just in front below these off camera is 3, 2, and 5. These here are the 6 original style in black and white. You can also buy hardcover versions or colorized versions. These are the ones that I have.
And yeah, I can't say that I've read any of the novels, but seen the movie. Great movie. Loved it when it came out.
It's 9 years old at this point, 2010. Yeah. So
oh man,
it's getting there.
Yeah, it's almost in the double digits here.
Oh yeah.
So I like the movie. What was your favorite part of the movie?
I liked all the different comic throwbacks. Like the P bar was funny. The level up and the way they did the graphics and visuals. Looking back, it seems like a precursor almost to the Into the Spider-Verse.
That's actually what I was thinking myself. The way that they had all the Pam, wow, kabam, and different cutscenes here and there really introed the Spider-Verse. That was the first thing that kind of kicked to my mind when I was thinking about, wow, Scott Pilgrim was 10 years old now almost. Mm-hmm. What have we had kind of since then? I think another one we've had since then is kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, Pixels, and again, they're not the comic book style, but they've kind of incorporated more of that animation into the real world, mm-hmm. I would say.
Yeah, the blending of the the comic, animated into a real style.
Absolutely, yeah. One of my most memorable scenes from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was when they're having the music battle. Mm-hmm. And they're on the two opposing stages, and it's going back and forth, and the crowd's building, tension's all hyped, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, was it the dragon first?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the dragon comes out of the one guy's instruments and forms this giant light dragon thing that starts battling, coming across the audience, and on the other stage, in response, it was a giant gorilla. It was a giant gorilla, Kong, ape, and they just start battling these two, music monsters.
And it literally blows the roof off the place.
Yeah, literally blows the roof right off the place. And I was like, holy crap, what the hell's going on? This is awesome. That was one of the most memorable scenes for me.
I really love, the scene of Lucas Lee going down the railing. That was really fun.
I was about to say, that was my second.
Into the coins.
Yeah. Because they're doing what the race. Mm-hmm. And that who plays that actor?
Chris Evans.
That's who I thought. Yeah. Yeah, he has a hilarious role in the movie. Mm-hmm. All macho.
Speaking of another big actor who was in the movie, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, was in Scott Pilgrim. She played Envy Adams.
Wow.
Antagonist.
Wow. Looking back at her now, she looks young in that movie, huh? Mm-hmm. Damn.
Well, they all look pretty young. It was almost 10 years ago, so.
Yeah. It's been, it's almost a decade now.
Yeah.
Speaking of Captain Marvel, that'll be another character we'll have to talk about in episodes to come.
See you in a future episode with it.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It's not vital to watching Endgame, I'd say, but it fills in a bunch of plot holes and questions that you may have been wondering about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so back to Scott Pilgrim here. Of the books, what would you say is your favorite book?
I really like... I always forget which one it's in, but I always forget when Scott is fighting the samurai, which isn't in the movie, which I'm kind of sad about.
I was trying to recall. I'm I don't remember.
Yeah, so it's in volume 4. So the samurai is actually Knives' dad. And he goes after Scott because he didn't like the fact that Knives was dating a white guy. And he stops going after Scott after Scott stops Roxy, which is the fourth evil X, and Knives' dad gets some respect for Scott.
Okay.
And stops going after him.
Okay, so Fighting the Samurai, number 4. Mm-hmm. Gotta read that book then. When did you pick these up? A while ago, or are these recent buy?
I've had these, I want to say, probably since at least 2012.
Okay, so recently after the
Yeah.
movie came out?
So I went into like one of the local comic shops here, and they had them on sale.
Perfect.
So like they had like the whole set like combined together on sale. And I was like, yeah, need to buy these.
Yep.
Because I had bought because like after the movie came out, I had bought like a digital version of the first one. I was like, now I need to go buy the other ones. And then I walked into the store the one day, and they had the whole set. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy it here.
Just gonna do it. Just gonna commit. That's awesome. So, had you ever like heard of Scott Pilgrim before the movie?
No.
Okay, so I didn't even really know it was a comic until like years after. Just recently, I had found out, hey, it's actually a comic, and I'm like, well, thinking back now, yeah, it probably should have dawned on me with all the cutscenes and comics in the movie. So who's the creator of this one? It's Bryan
Lee O'Malley.
Lee O'Malley. Okay, now what is he? Is he known for anything else, or is this kind of his like star work?
This is his main work that he's known for.
Okay,
and it was actually like one of his first works as well. He has also released another work called Seconds, which is equally as good as Scott Pilgrim. Okay. Now, it's a single completed work versus where Scott Pilgrim was released in 6 volumes. Seconds is just one work that's about 2 inches thick, and it's really good too. It hasn't been made into...
More of a short story?
It's pretty decent chunk. Like, it's almost as big as the 6 combined.
Oh, holy crap. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a big
yeah, and it's good just like Scott Pilgrim. It focuses on a totally different thing.
Seconds.
Yeah. So it's also really good. And then I believe he's also done a collaboration with another person in, I forget what the title of that one is, but that recently came out, I believe. I've been meaning to check that one out. I haven't checked it out. I also own Seconds as well.
You should have brought that one today. But...
Yeah.
Oh well. Later episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Why, thank you. Rocking the troopers over here with the different stashes. And what's Kenny got?
I got the
Airbender?
Avatar and Korra shirt.
Ooh, nice.
With Earthbender, Fire, Air, and Water.
Got some fan love for the shirts here. Thanks, guys. I noticed we keep rocking the camera. Sorry about that. We got a new setup here today, so bear with us.
Yeah, it's a little janky. We'll fix that in later episodes.
Yeah, sorry if there's a little bit of screen vibration. It's because the camera is rocking.
We're rocking the house down.
Yeah, we are rocking here, guys. So bear with us. All right, so I want you to...
Elberon says, is Seconds also set in Toronto? So for those of you who don't know, that Scott Pilgrim is set within Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Seconds, it doesn't really state that it's Toronto. It's more of an ambiguous city, from what I remember. It could be someplace like Toronto. It could also be some other bigger mecca city.
Unknown.
It doesn't really state it. It's just kind of more generic. And an interesting fact about us that we feel a connection to Scott Pilgrim. So Bryan Lee O'Malley is from London, Ontario, which is the same city that we broadcast out of. So we feel a bit of a connection from that.
Yeah, hometown comic book hero. Now, lead us here. What are we going to start with before we do the deep dive into Scott?
So the 6 different volumes each have their own name. So the first one is Scott Pilgrim's Precious Life.
Yeah.
Well, Precious Little Life. Second one is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is where the movie got its title inspiration from.
Okay.
And then Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness.
Is that after post-breakup or something?
It's after an event, which is kind of funny. And then Scott Pilgrim Gets It Together. And then Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe. And then Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour, which is the final.
The comeback.
Yeah.
Finale.
So they are interesting. So similarities between the books and the movie is that they both feature Scott and his friends. They're both set in Toronto. They both feature 7 evil exes, who are Matthew Patel, which is the first one, Lucas Lee, Todd, Roxy Richer, the twins, Kyle and Ken Katayanagi. Totally probably pronounced that wrong.
You went for it.
And then there's Gideon. That's the final boss. They all have similar battles that from was portrayed in the movie into the film. There is the exception with Roxy and the twins, and the storyline with Todd is changed a little bit. Some of the events that happen. So, with the first battle with Matthew Patel, it happens at a band show. In the film, it's a bit of a competition because we get the best song in the world, "I'm So Sad." But within the actual graphic novels, it happens where the Sex Bob-ombs is putting on a show instead of participating in a show. And there is a little bit of change. So within the movie, it's more of an actual physical fight. Within the graphic novel, it's a musical battle.
Okay.
That happens.
So did they change the order of events there?
It's a little bit yeah, because like
they had the musical battle later.
Yeah, they have Todd has a musical battle in the movie a little bit with the guitar.
Yeah.
And then so Lucas Lee's storyline is still pretty similar. He's in Toronto filming. He's a skateboarding person and an actor, and he gets sent down the rail on like a grind fest. So that's the same as the movie.
And that's the character played by Chris Evans.
Yes, that's Chris Evans' character. Now, Todd, like I mentioned, is a little different. So within the movie, he has vegan powers, which is his main thing. So within the movie, he and Scott battle it out within one night.
Sorry, we got dog growling. Kenny's going to continue.
We're going to get a nice dog emoji at some point, so that when that happens, we can just spam it. So within the movie, Todd and Scott battle it out within the same night, but in the actual book, there is a lapse of a couple days within it between the events of when Knives gets her highlights punched out to when Scott defeats Todd. So there is a bit of a change there. Now, with Todd, in the books, he is actually a bit of a jerk. He's cheating on Envy, which nobody likes, and Envy breaks up with him, but gets hit by Todd's powers because he's a dick like that, which is what prompts Scott to actually fight him, finally, and eventually lead to his defeat. But within the movie, it's after Knives gets punched by Todd that he decides to fight, and then the musical battle. And then in both of them, Todd had ate gelato and chicken parm at some point, so he gets his vegan powers removed.
Yep.
And then Scott is able to defeat him with a nice headbutt. Now, within the movie, Envy and Scott do actually have a bit of a reconciliation and moving on, but within the actual graphic novels, it's delayed until later at the end. At this point, after Todd's been defeated, Envy decides she's going solo and then disappears.
Okay.
And then after we have Todd, we have Roxy, which is a girl, and...
This is what, number 4?
Yes, this is Evil X number 4. This is the girl, and it's Ramona was like experimenting, having fun.
Yep.
Just played off.
These are college days, whatever.
Now, so within the movie, we see Scott sticks to his convictions about not wanting to hit a girl, and Ramona basically controls his body, like hand moves, foots, kicks, and she basically, through Scott, defeats Roxy. So that's one big change. Where
worked him like a ventriloquist dummy.
Basically. Where within the graphic novels, it happens at the same time. The confrontation with Roxy happens at the same time as the main confrontation with Mr. Chow and the samurai. And so initially Scott gets him to try and fight Roxy a little bit, but then he realizes that doing that isn't really good, and he realizes that he's been a bit of a ass, and he decides that he actually needs to tell Ramona about his love for her, and doing so brings him Like, he realizes he was cowardly. And confessing his love to Ramona brings him the power of Love Sword, which he then uses to defeat Roxy. And him defeating Roxy in front of the samurai, Mr. Chow, is actually what earns him the respect for him to no longer go after Scott.
Okay.
Because it shows that he's willing to, like, stand up and do stuff properly and not just, like, shrivel away and hide, be a coward.
Okay, so that was one of the things that we didn't get to see in the movie.
Yes, we didn't get to see the samurai, which is kind of sad, but it is understandable because the movie was already a pretty decent length, and adding in that storyline...
It's pretty long, actually,
Yeah, it would have muddled it. It probably would have made it more confusing because he would have had to have more build-up and actually have Knives talking to her father about it.
Communication is key here, guys.
Yes. So then the fifth and sixth evil X's are the twins. And so they initially... So within the movie, it happens at the big battle of the bands.
Yeah.
And there's like the laser light shows that basically come alive and bring the house down.
Blow the roof off.
But within the graphic novels, Scott and Ramona actually run into them at a party where the sex bombs and like Scott's friends are. And then later, the twins kidnap Kim, who is one of Scott's best friends and actually one of his exes. And so the twins basically... So Scott goes to save Kim because he's a good friend of hers.
Yeah.
So the twins, while Scott is there, basically try and convince him that he's fighting for the wrong girl and being like, give up on Ramona, you should go with Kim. But Kim kind of does like a little bit of a sacrifice and lies. So at this point, like Ramona and Scott were kind of broken up a little bit because Scott feels like Ramona is getting bored and she might still have feelings for Gideon. So there's like a bit of a twist like that.
That's the final boss, Gideon.
Yes, Gideon's the final boss.
Played by, who's it, Jason Smart?
Oh, yeah, I forget his name.
Jason Schwartz?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. So Scott fighting the twins happens a little differently. In the movies, he's saving Kim, and Kim basically says to Scott, I got a text from Ramona, but she's actually lying, and because she said that because at that point, Scott was kind of losing, and he needed some encouragement. So that little encouragement actually helped him muster up and defeat the twins, both of them.
Kudos to them both. She was able to sacrifice. He was able to pull through.
Yeah. And then after that, so the final evil X is Gideon, who is the biggest prick of all. And so Gideon's kind of holding Ramona in her mind hostage a little bit.
Mind fuckage.
Yeah. So in a previous part within the graphic novel, Scott manages to slip into Ramona's mind a little and sees that like she's held kind of captive and slave to a shadowy figure, almost kind of like Leia and but probably not really in the slave outfit. Like
Jabba.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, but like a shadowy figure. We don't really know it's Gideon until later on. So Scott manages to break Ramona out, like kind of like help convince her that she needs to actually move away and get over Gideon and realize all this shit that he's done to her. So she manages to like break out and like come back, and then Gideon tries to get Ramona and Scott to turn against each other, but he doesn't, and so
fails.
Yeah. So
good.
Yeah.
Fuck you, kid.
So within the end fight within the movie, we have the sex bombs playing at the theater, and then we have Gideon trying to convince Scott to join, and then we also have Knives come in as well and help fight. Now within the graphic novels, Knives doesn't show up. Gideon does still try and convince Scott,
Okay.
And then instead of the Sex Bombs playing, it's actually Envy making her solo debut.
Oh.
And now that is actually an important part because part of the reason why Scott is able to defeat Gideon is because after seeing how badly Gideon treats Envy, Scott basically has a realization, and from that, and understanding that he's been no better than Gideon towards his past relationships than Gideon has been. So he realizes and has an understanding moment.
That oh shit moment.
Yeah, and then from that, he earns the Power of Understanding sword. Which he then, along with Ramona...
Where are these swords coming from? You just pulling them out of his ass?
Just pulling them out of himself.
Nice.
He stores them, we don't want to know. So he pulls it out, and between him and Ramona are both able to defeat Gideon, and he explodes into 7,777,777 coins, which rains down on the entire crowd and apparently hurts a lot. And then now, after that, Scott and Envy actually have their moment of reconciliation and making up and coming to terms with their past relationship because they are both able to realize and see where they both went wrong.
Okay.
See, within the movie, it's delayed, and within the movie, it happens earlier after Todd. Within the graphic novels, it happens at the end because Envy's there instead of Sex Bombs.
Yeah.
And previous to the fight with Gideon, Scott was like hanging out with Kim. They're walking through a forest, going on like a wilderness sabbatical, as they like to call it, basically trying to clear his mind. And
getting some air.
And that's the point which he makes up with Kim about their past together.
Okay.
Where within the movie, when the Sex Bombs are there, he makes up with Kim at that point.
Yeah, later, it was like at his house or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And previous to all this as well, in an earlier volume, he makes up with Knives, where in the movie is basically at the end is where he makes up with Knives, Ramona, and Kim, and then Envy happened previously, where within the graphic novels, it's spread out a little more.
Okay, so Scott has a total of what, 3 X's? Or 4? Well, 3 plus Ramona being the new one.
Yeah, 3 plus Ramona, because he started off with Kim, and then when he moved to Toronto, he broke up with Kim.
Yep.
And then we had Envy, or Natalie, as she used to be called.
Okay.
And so she broke up with Scott after her band became popular.
Yep.
And then there was Knives, which we obviously had happen. We know what happened there.
Indeed. And then so Ramona has 7 of her own exes.
Yes.
They have a hell of a lot of exes. They're battling it.
Mm-hmm.
Battle Royale.
Different show.
Alright, so they order events a lot differently.
Yes, the order of events are a lot different, and some characters such as Nega Scott are actually different within the movie and the graphic novel.
When did we see Nega Scott in the movie?
So within the movie, Nega Scott doesn't really appear until the end battle.
Oh, okay, and that was when he starts like getting down on himself and shit?
It's like you gotta fight your own self.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, and so within the movie, Scott and Nega Scott basically like make friends and part their ways and agree to like connect later. But within the graphic novel, Nega Scott actually takes on a different purpose.
What is the new purpose?
Nega Scott's purpose is actually making Scott confront his poor actions in previous relationships.
So he's pretty pivotal.
Yes. So when he appears in earlier volumes of it, and it happens after he has basically like negative thoughts about his past relationships and about himself. So later on, when he's actually in the wilderness sabbatical, and Kim explains about how... So Scott thinks that when him and Kim first met, he actually went off and saved her. But he didn't. And Kim kind of goes like, yes, stupid. That didn't happen. And like kind of corrects his like repressed memories because he always tried to think about like stuff was better than it actually was, and it wasn't his fault
Okay.
that stuff happened. But Nega Scott is basically his personification of
Facing reality.
Facing
Okay.
reality, remembering everything. And so Scott, in the wilderness sabbatical, so between volumes 5 and volume 6, there's actually about a 4-month gap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so within the movie, it takes place over like 3-4 days.
Yeah, it's just like, next week.
But within the actual graphic novels, it takes over a longer period. Like, there's a 4-month gap between 5 and 6, and then there's also like a couple weeks gaps earlier between some of the volumes.
Okay.
Some volumes, like
Did you
3,
say 3 was the sadness?
2 and 3 follow immediately behind each other, but some of the other ones take place like a couple days later or within like a couple spaced out.
So there's some downtime.
Yeah, so it is more spread out.
Makes more sense for the whole relationships.
Yeah, it's not like 3 days, we're in love, we're permanent. It's like, okay, we've actually done some time, we've explored, we've figured stuff out. So there is that difference. And so back to Nega Scott, it's his, like I said, personification of all his bad thoughts towards everything he's repressed about how bad he was towards his past relationships. And part of him coming back in volume 6 is Scott trying to forget about Ramona and trying to forget about that. And Nega Scott basically comes out, and Scott realizes that he needs to confront. He first of all goes, I'm going to murder him, I'm going to stop him now, make him stop bugging me. Mm-hmm. And then he realizes that he needs to actually embrace him, and they basically merge back together, and he remembers everything, which is what allows him to have the power of understanding later.
Okay, so Nega Scott's pretty pivotal here.
Yes.
And we did not get to see him till the very end of the movie.
No, which is and they also changed the way he operated in the movie.
Yeah, he was a lot more like meddlesome. Like he was more trying to pester Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with them doing all the changes to the timeline, other than the samurai not being in there, is there anything that you can think of they cut out? Or did they find time to kind of just twist the timeline and fill it in anyway?
A lot of it is still in there, like the samurai's cut out.
From what I was gathering, sounds like a lot of it stayed in, but just tweaked.
That's about the most thing. Like, a lot of it's just, like, tweaking stuff. Like, instead of... So with Knives, when she gets punched within the movie and her highlights get knocked out, she was punched by Todd.
Right.
But within the graphic novel, it's actually... it happens for the same reason. She kept, like, interrupting and kind of, like, asking Envy stuff. And, like, because Envy invited them. It's Envy asks the drummer of the group, of Clash of Demon Head, to deal with her, and he knocks the highlights out, which pisses Scott off, and then he thinks it was Todd's fault because he's dating Envy, which is why Envy changed.
Okay, because Envy was one of his exes, Natalie.
Yes, Envy Natalie.
Envy Natalie.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the order of Todd's exes? Do you know that?
It went Ramon.
Ramona's the newest one.
Yes.
Before that was Kim.
For Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, because you said Todd.
Oh, my...
Scott. So Scott, it goes... Kim was first. That was back when they actually used to live up north.
Oh, okay, so Kim was the first one, and then he moved to Toronto, and they broke up.
He moved to Toronto and broke up with her.
Yeah.
And then later on, Kim moved to Toronto as well, but that's...
Yeah, that's later.
And then after Kim was Envy...
Envy/Natalie.
Envy, Natalie.
Got it.
And she broke up with Scott, and then after...
What was the reason?
Her band became popular.
She was the popular band girl.
Yeah, she broke up with...
And then she ends up with Todd later.
Yeah.
And they're both vegans together?
At least Todd is vegan.
Or just Todd?
I'm not sure about it.
Okay.
I don't think it's really stated.
Vegan power.
It's not really a plot point if she is.
He probably just eats Oreos. He's one of those vegans.
Oreos and peanut butter.
It's vegan. The best guy.
Yeah, so then after Envy, it's Ramona. Oh, well, no, it's Knives.
Knives. And I was like, we're missing one here.
Yeah.
Okay, Knives. And then... So Knives is the Mr. Chow's daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
Knives
and how does he meet Knives?
So within the movie, they meet...
I can't remember. Bacon Power. Oh, yeah. Bacon Power. That's the
Dim
best
Jim
power.
the Pirate.
It beats Oreo and peanut butter power.
So within the movie, I actually forget how they meet. This is bad.
Fact check for later. So Mr. Chow, how does he meet Mr. Chow? Was the samurai the first introduction to Mr. Chow?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, who's that? And she's like, that's my dad.
Well, Scott actually, so he doesn't, the samurai Mr. Chow doesn't appear until after Scott has broken up with her.
Oh.
So Scott doesn't know.
So that's my angry dad.
Yeah, so Scott doesn't know until later that it's Mr. Chow.
Oh, what? Does Elbrian know here? She's a fangirl in the movie.
Well, she was a fangirl of the Sex Bombs. But I think Scott might have met her at the, music store. I think they met somewhere outside.
It's all been so long.
Yeah.
My mind is so mush.
So, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't say.
Because then Ramona, where does he meet Ramona?
So...
Tinder?
Too modern for 2010. So Ramona is actually first introduced in Scott's dream.
Oh.
Because Ramona basically uses what's referred to as subspace, which is basically like a pocket dimension that you can pop through, and sometimes it cuts through someone's head.
MySpace.
So that's the first instance of Ramona. He sees her and basically is kind of like, oh, who's that?
The girl of his dreams.
Yeah.
Literally.
And then he does actually meet Ramona in person. And
Where was that at?
At a party.
Okay, so just random party.
Yeah. So they meet there. And then Scott wants to meet with her again. And that's when Matthew Patel contacts him, the first Evil X.
Yep.
And Scott is just like, whatever. He's like, junk mail.
Yeah, I don't care about this. This is irrelevant right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are all the X's. Those are all...
And technically, at a certain point, Ramona does become an X.
Because they're together and then they break up and then they're back together.
Yes.
What point is that? In the movie, it's near the end, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the books, is it the last novel?
In the books, Ramona breaks up with Scott after Knives tells Ramona that they were cheating. That Scott was going with both of them at the same time.
Was he though?
Yes.
Scott, you bastard.
Yeah, and so Ramona also thought that Scott had feelings for a girl named Lisa, which he didn't, and winds up just basically confessing his love about Ramona to Lisa.
Oh. Yeah, well, that can be easily misconstrued for.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. No, I just told her how much I like you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with all these X's on the go, it's easy to kind of fuddle them up, and it's like 11 involved here.
Yeah. So many X's.
So many X's. The more the merrier, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough to make a movie in 6 books.
Yeah. It's a pretty good movie.
Gotta say, I do want to rewatch it. It has been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at next year?
So one thing that it is also within... So the movie has a really good soundtrack as well. And within the actual graphic novels too, during band practice and that, it does actually put lyrics and chords for the actual song. So not sure if you'll be able to see it, but right here there's chords for the song, and then in between the panels there is actually lyrics for each of the songs. So you see it. So there's the chords and then the lyrics
Oh,
for the
no
songs.
way.
And on the actual comic panels, it tells you which chord to play with which lyric. So it's something interesting. So you do still get to experience the soundtrack within the comics. It is a little different than what's in the movie.
So someone not like me with some artistic and musical talent would be able to actually read this book with a little bit more
Yeah. So you could
practicality.
sit there and actually play it out if you actually had.
Yeah, I'd try to look at it and be like, I don't get it. But you could actually get some music going. That's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I like the involvement.
It is pretty cool like that. And it does kind of bring a different side.
Yeah, it's not something you'd usually see in like a graphic novel or a comic of any sort.
Mm-hmm. Now, one interesting fact about Volume 5 of the graphic novel, which is where Scott fights the twins, is one of the draft copies was actually used as inspiration for the film. So within the film, the fight happens at the Toronto Battle of the Bands.
Yep.
But within the Volume 5, it actually doesn't happen at the Battle of the Bands, but a draft copy initially had it at the Battle of the Bands, which is what inspired the scene in the movie.
Oh, so they're like, that was good, just throw it in.
Yeah, so they used...
Initial book draft for actual movie footage.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So it's cool that they were able to change it up, but also still keep it kind of true to the source
Kept
material.
it genuine, yeah, but we're able to give the audience a little bit of a twist. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And one thing, too, after Scott defeats Todd, he gets a level up, extra life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So within the movie, it happens about the same time. And dog noises. So he uses the extra life in the final battle with Gideon.
I was going to say, I gets spanked by Gideon kind of quick, and then extra life, and then gets him on the rebound.
So within the movie, he basically kind of goes into like the subspace world, and Ramona is kind of like a dream that goes by and is like basically get up. And then so within the movie, he then fights and defeats Gideon after that. Within the graphic novels, he goes into a desert space where he actually meets with Ramona, and they basically chat it out and like work out their issues, and it's that conversation which helps Ramona realize she should try and break out, and so she does kind of come back out, because at the end of Volume 5 she kind of disappeared into like the subspace.
Yeah.
And then she comes back out after her and Scott discussing stuff, because she was also doing like a wilderness sabbatical, but it failed.
She didn't get fresh air.
Yeah. So then she comes back out, and Scott goes into Ramona's purse, which is a subspace portal as well, and he goes into her mind to help free her of Gideon, and it's him going in and basically telling her, hey, you need to like try and fight, we know stuff has been bad, but you need to try and like work through it and make it better.
Baby,
and it's
back.
him doing that which inspires her to kick Gideon out and basically get her life back from Gideon.
Break out of her shell and kind of
Yeah.
out of her little jail.
It's kind of her like killing Jabba the Hutt.
Yep. Kill Jabba
Monument.
and she out of there. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need that little push. Like, come on, you can do it.
Now, one big change too that happens between the movie and the graphic novels is within the movie, at the end, Scott gets all the swords. Because when he first shows up, he basically apologizes, he confesses his love to Ramona, which gets him the power of Love Sword. And then Gideon basically squashes that. And then he does his life, comes back to life, and then he goes back once more, and he basically, that's when he like apologizes to everyone, and he knows that Knives is there already, so basically calls everyone out, apologizes.
With thanks to Nega Scott.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so then, and that's when he gets the other sword.
And that's, so in the movie, it's called The Power of Self-Respect.
Oh, but in the book, it's the power of understanding.
Yes, because in the movie, Scott gets self-respect back, but within the graphic novel, he gets understanding about how bad he was in his past relationships and how he can work to make him better. Okay. So there's a change with that. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the swords come at different points in the graphic novels. The first sword, the Power of Love, comes while he's fighting Roxy, which happens in volume 4. And then the Sword of Understanding comes in volume 6.
Okay.
So it is spread out as opposed to in the movie where
swords?
it's just the two swords.
First ones get squashed.
Yes. Oh. And so within the movie, Gideon breaks the Power of Love sword, but within the graphic novel, he actually basically takes it and hides it from Scott. And Ramona, when she's breaking out and basically breaking herself free of Gideon's control, she steals the Power of Love sword back from Gideon. Good.
Don't destroy it. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think we mentioned, Scott is played by who? Michael Cera?
Michael Cera.
And he's from what, Hamilton, Ontario?
Yeah.
Yeah, another local Ontario here. Ontarian. All right. What we got next here?
I think that's about all, unless people have anything else they want to know about.
It's not quite as big of a topic as our usual Marvel DC fan or characters.
There's not really 5 different versions, 20 different storylines, 3 spin-offs.
80 plus years of redos.
32 universes.
There's a little less to talk about, so.
There was actually a video game that spawned off.
Scott Pilgrim.
So it spawned off the movie, not the original graphic novels.
And what system was it for? Xbox?
I believe it's 360 and PS3 at the time.
I feel like I might have it downloaded on my Xbox. I feel like it was one of those gold subscription free games.
It was released on Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network.
Yeah, I think they're...
Published by Ubisoft.
I might have this game, guys.
Maybe we'll do a future playthrough of it.
There may be a future Scott Pilgrim playthrough game later this week.
Elderon says it's a 16-bit game, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Could be true. I mean, it would fit the comic style of it. So it was PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Okay.
That's about the time frame of those machines.
And a comment here from Al Brian. The director of the movie was who? Edgar Wright. What else has he directed? Do we know? Let's get a IMDb here.
Let's do a quick look up.
We're going to do a quick look up here, guys. So, Edgar Wright, other notable works.
He did Ant-Man. He was initially part of the development for Ant-Man, which is pretty interesting.
What is the other works down
here? He's in a relationship with Anna Kendrick, who played a character who played Scott's sister in the movie.
Okay.
They actually met on the movie set.
Go figure, huh? Mm-hmm. She found the sword of love.
He did Baby Driver. Did you ever see that movie?
Baby Driver was good. I like that movie. That was a good one. Oh, Mitch has some for us here. Oh, damn. He did Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End. Oh, okay. So he's done all the ones with, damn it, what's that actor's name?
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg's freaking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bunch of those movies, actually. Shaun of the Dead, classic. Hot Fuzz, I thought it was kind of very slow. It was a very slow burn until the end, and then everything just went fucking haywire, and I was like, that's awesome. World's End, a little bit of the same sort, a little bit more enjoyable throughout the movie, but then at the end, again, haywire. So yeah, okay, notable director, and you're right. Mm-hmm. Did not know he was responsible for all those movies. All right, so I think that's all we got here for this week. Now, when will you be back joining us here, Kenny? Is it 2 weeks from now?
believe it's June 1st, so
June
which
1st.
is about 2 weeks from now.
So in 2 weeks from now, Kenny will be back on the set here. We'll be announcing in a week or two what that topic will be about. Next week, Mitch will be back as my co-host. He'll be back over his cold, feeling, 100% better, I'm hoping here.
At least 50% better.
At least 50%. Yeah, lots of Buckleys and, give her. Just give her. Well, thanks, Kenny, for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for tuning in here, guys. And I think that's everything for today. So thanks for tuning in for episode 2 of Worlds Collide, and we hope to see you all next week. Don't forget to follow and share, and see you at 7 o'clock next Saturday. Sorry for the delay this week. Take care, guys.
See ya. I knew that would fall.